Any project we talk about today is an example of getting kicked in the teeth repeatedly and simply deciding to get back up. And the power of that is so enormous because there are so many points in this journey, and I mean early, I mean often, and I mean hard, where I should have just been like, oh, sorry, the rejections are good, but they gave me a fortitude. And it's not just rejection, that helped me, but it's the roller coaster of every project. Oh, when you believe in something, and this is art itself, it doesn't matter what the reaction's going to be. Doing the work is all there is.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Beyond the Process, where we explore the art of storytelling. I am Lance Laspina, and as always, I'm joined by my intrepid sidekick, Mr. Shane Patrick White. On today's show, we have another very, very special guest. In fact, Shane and I have really been looking forward to doing this interview for quite some time. We've both had the pleasure of working with this gentleman in the past. He's as much of a wizard with the camera as he is with the keyboard. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Mr. Adam Reid.
My heart. I want to write that down. That's good copywriting, Lance. You're hired. That might be the best intro I've ever had.
Oh, wow. That's nice. That's nice of you to say. Not just because we're friends.
But we became friends the best way possible. Like, I don't have a lot of friends, if I'm being really honest. I have a lot of people I work with, but what's neat about the people I work with a lot that I love working with is they always become my friends. And I think that's such a beautiful thing that happens. I'm not always working. I have to work with a lot of people that I don't grow close to, but what's neat when you feel that magnet with your with your people, whether it's creative or a special interest or, it could be almost anything, not just, we just happen to have a lot in common, even though I think we were more different when we met. And also the nature of friendships is they pull like my hobbies and your hobbies are sort of like pulling towards each other. Now there's a swap. You just wrote great copy. I'm like, pretty soon I'm going to be like riding bicycles in like mountainous terrain, and they're going to be like hunched over the keyboard. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And when did we Freaky Friday? This is cool. And look, I have muscle. It's great. It's great. I can't wait to be you is my only point. Yeah.
Just as a clarification, Adam is referring to my obsession with mountain biking, just so, because I don't know if everyone knows that.
Well, one only has to look at you to know you're fit and fitter than me. So it's okay. It's just visual context clues. You wouldn't understand.
So, Adam, could you, for those few people out there who may not know that much about you, could you just please take a moment to tell us about yourself and your career and the things you've done?
I'm sort of like I'm a Renaissance creative, and I never ever describe myself that way, but I think it's the easiest way to now sum up this very varied career where I'm going to go so fast. I'm a director, really. And I put that first of all, it has a real value. I think people understand that can wear a lot of hats, and you must, by virtue of being a director, at least if you're a good one and not just an aspiring director, I think a huge part of that job, even when you're very different, visual directors versus verbal, or people who are, making Marvel films versus very independent. It was like almost anyone might be like, I don't know, that person has to know an awful lot about the creative process to be at the top of that, because they know that that's a pyramid. So I use director as this front, but the truth is from when I was in little boy, but I was like really, more like high school, when you start figuring out, it's always arts, and it was then we didn't have a film program. So it was photography and then theater. And it was like, and I left and my high school apparently became this like Academy Award winning high school. I was like, what the fuck did you really?
Yeah,
and
don't
then
you love that?
I always like, I did it the hard way. I'm like 35 minutes. I was like, okay. But, and I had this beautiful journey where I thought I wanted to be an actor. But I was already picking up the camera, and I understood that you have to sort of create. There was just enough of the creative process in it, and storytelling in me, and a love of television, and all the same crap. Because we're all, as a child of the 80s and the 90s, as a teenager, it's sort of like, look, our inputs versus my kids, right? We're so much more limited. It was like, you liked what you liked. It was like, these are your people, these are your bands, these are your movies, this is your shit. And so, but what I knew enough to be like, I have to create it if I want to be in it, because I saw the plays, I was doing plays, but it was like, even that was an opportunity. There was like, you write a part for the one acts and it's just like, it became obvious that these things, you had to find your band and they had to make stuff. And if you wanted to be a director or an actor, you had to kind of cast yourself. And even my heroes at that time were filmmakers. Like, it wasn't who I became as an artist, but like Robert Rodriguez. And it was the bootstrap quality of saying, oh, fuck, I make it myself. Yeah. And I believed in that from like go. So it's not surprising. I was always this guy, but a hilarious journey. And we'll do the Cliff Notes version because you can stop at any point and then they expand if you want, which is go to LA, fail as an actor, not know anything about my neurodiversity until I was like in my 40s. And this is very, very recent. But knowing that now, imagine me going around in the shitty car trying to go to auditions, getting rejected at auditions with everybody just looks like me, but like I'm like trying to sell a soup can. I'm like, what am I fucking doing? Just talk about like Sisyphus pushing the ball uphill, a sweaty Jewish nerd in Southern California, who shouldn't be driving. But no, I'm going to make it here. And it's like a Woody Allen movie before any of this success. You just start there and it just ends. And then I got a job at Comedy Central. And it was such a cool opportunity because right away I was in the promo department. I was just an assistant at PA. It was a 6-week PA gig. I moved to New York for that. And my life changed. And that was now so long ago. It's hard to even, it was 1999. So I went to Comedy Central and right away, and this is something that'll jump to now and we can just touch on a couple of things because now I've done a little bit of everything. Which is,
you have. It
fused that idea I talked about a moment ago about making your own magic. And at comedy, I was just hungry enough and they were just National Lampoony enough to take an idea from the kid who was up his own ass and just showed up and thought he was Spielberg.
Right.
And because they empowered that, I got to work on The Daily Show. I got to work on South Park. Oh, right when I got there, I was directing. I had ideas, and I was like, "Oh, can I direct it?" Then they wanted to shoot it, and they were like, "No, you're like 12." And I'm like, "Okay, good point." And then they were like, "We'll let you co-direct it." And I was like, "Okay, holy shit, I think I'm getting away with something." And then because I was me, and now and like this, and I didn't know what that meant. I was just doing me. Now I know.
Right.
I suddenly felt like I had found my place, found my people. I wasn't an actor. I was a director. And then I could cast myself and do whatever the hell I want. So I'm doing voiceovers for my own promos. I'm doing promos for Comedy Central. They're just commercials for their spots. It's just like they do now. It's like, these are commercials for spots. But it gave me the fortitude and the big an early enough win after enough hard rejection and trying to break into the business to really see a path. But my ego was still much more bigger than the and there's a certain beauty to that navitate because it got me through. I made a beautiful short film in that time while I was working for the networks. I jumped around in cable and then started directing commercials. And that's how we started working together, Lance. And it was like, I made a feature film and for almost no money based on the success of my short, which was a beautiful process of getting all of these projects. Any project we talk about today is an example of getting kicked in the teeth repeatedly and simply deciding to get back up. And the power of that is so enormous because there are so many points in this journey. And I mean early, I mean often, and I mean hard, where I should have just been like, oh, sorry. And I do know now that it's my spiciness that really assisted. And then it was I'm reward driven personally. Some people, everyone is, so like the rejections are good, but they gave me a fortitude, and it's not just rejection, that helped me, but it's the roller coaster of every project. I'll give you an example. The short film was rejected from at that time, 60 festivals, but then because it was long, I was an idiot. You can program like 8 short films in my short film. I went right to I was like, under 40 minutes, hold my beer. Why would you do that? It was like, you automatically rule out every festival. They're like, we have to hate 8, so many films to not give them the opportunity and love that many. It wasn't logic,
Right.
But here's the magical thing. I had to go through all that to start winning and then get shortlisted and then rejected. For an Academy Award, but we started winning. But we won the festivals we did get into because it felt like a feature length short film. But and I'm not even saying it was good. It was this process of learning. I was like, when you believe in something, and this is art itself,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the reaction's going to be. That was just being too sensitive, having so much associated with the result and the expectation and the career and the idea of myself versus the work itself. Doing the work is all there is.
Right.
So,
right.
And I never understood that there was a difference between art and commerce because I was born within that, working for Comedy Central and making things growing up liking things that were popular.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. The growing up part. It's like a lot of our environment tends to shape who we are. You know, whether it's the physical environment or the people that are in our lives. So, where do you think that tenacity came from and that creativity came from for you? And where exactly did you grow up?
I grew up in San Diego, in a town called Rancho Bernardo, ARB. It's been a while. You know, there's not a lot there. It's sort of like this golf cart, you know, dysphoria of San Diego, you know, inland empire, beautiful, you know, if you like the same weather and golf cart kind of communities. And then, you know, what's I think remarkable, and it's something we share, it's like very much like, you know, if you watch the movie E.T., it felt a little bit like that kind of track housing type stuff. We all grew up in a version of this America, this town. And it wasn't, I live in a very Norman Rockwell Capra-esque thing. I don't think any of these places have any bearing on the creativity, but it's fun to romance them now because we can recognize them throughout cinema or the types. I grew up in a place. I understand a life like that. But the truth is, I now recognize it as sort of like a people pleasing that's deep inside me, the sort of beautiful, spicy brain that a lot of artists have, but I'm speaking specifically to mine, which is like, I say that and I mean, you know, my ADHD traits, neurodiverse traits that I'm going, and there's a sticky quality to creativity and a positivity to dopamine that just keeps me coming back to it, or I don't think you can do it. And I don't think everyone's necessarily neurodiverse to have that sort of like artistic mind that says, no, I see the world differently. I process my life by expressing it. And then when you get to doing something so well and you're in the gym of that, the gym of your soul, the actual gym, the drawing gym that you guys are sort of really buff motherfuckers in, you start to see, well, like any game, like a video game, you see your advantage. It's that simple. You just see your advantage. You're going like, well, I can't switch character classes now because I'm fucking, look at me, I'm stacked. And I only had that because I did my fucking hours and I enjoyed it. So the secret was enjoying it or finding your tribe. And for some arts, it's a real connect. If you don't have the support, you just can't do it.
Sure.
And if you can't create the support or give yourself the support from within, it almost always takes a band, or it's a band of self. And that's just time. And I've been through that too. So anyway, the fortitude to create was for me, it saved my life. And I think for a lot of creatives, I think if they weren't we don't know this because it's very sad and just melancholy to talk about it this way. But if we weren't actually processing our traumas, I think we would probably completely crumble. And what I find in my own life, without projecting on all artists, is if I'm not expressing my truest self somehow through my art. So I can be in the biggest prison of all, being hyper creative for other people. If I don't really feel like I am it has a voice and I'm allowed to use my magic. That's one thing. So if I'm not expressing myself through the thing, whether it's commerce or not, I'm not happy as a person. And I'm not saying that's healthy, but this is the beautiful outgrowth of that, which is the work. And I'm proud of the work. And then there's a healthy mindset. I'd love to talk about it when there's a transition, or if I stop talking, which is how we approach the work, because there's healthy ways to approach work and there's not healthy ways. And success is all over the map. It has no bearing on how you approach the work. Success is something else. And how you wear it, what it feels like, is completely subjective. And so that's something I'm becoming very passionate about, because I want to live a long, healthy, creative life and keep making lots of shit. So I went off and I had to have one of everything. And then I'll let you guys ask questions, because I'm finishing up About Me. I had to make a movie. I had to make you helped me with a graphic novel, Lance. Thank you so much. And that entire project, Barry and Joe I'm talking about, which is now feels like ancient history. We're living the same nightmare. and then TV with children's television and the Tiny Chef. It was just so fun to be a part of that journey. So it's like, these are such cool things, and that's I've been this sort of a journeyman, and that's sort of my ethos.
Shane and I really appreciate you guys tuning into our YouTube channel today. If you enjoyed this short conversation and would like to see the entire interview, then please head on over to our Substack, where you'll not only find all of our full-length interviews, but a ton of super interesting posts that we've created just for you guys. Link is in the description box below. So until next time, thanks for watching.